The Earth was on the edge of a precipice. For years, the human race had been engaged in tense negotiations with the alien alliance. The two sides, once hopeful of finding common ground, were now bitter enemies. Diplomatic talks had dragged on for months with no progress. The aliens, with their superior technology and immense power, had made unreasonable demands, and humanity was tired of being pushed around. For every concession humans made, the aliens seemed to ask for more. Inside the Grand Hall of the United Nations, the air was thick with tension. World leaders had gathered to hear what the President of the United States, Emma Dawson, had to say. She had spent years as a peace advocate, promoting diplomacy and unity. But as the talks dragged on, and the aliens grew more aggressive, she had changed. No longer willing to sit idly by, she had come to a decision that would change the course of history forever. The room fell silent as President Dawson stood up to speak. Her eyes scanned the room, meeting the gaze of every leader in the room, and then she spoke. "Enough talking," she said, her voice steady but full of power. "We have negotiated, we have compromised, and we have been ignored. The time for words is over. It's time to act. It's time to defend our people." The words hung in the air like a bomb about to explode. For a moment, no one said anything. Then, slowly, murmurs of shock and disbelief spread across the room. This was not the woman they had known. This was not the leader who had spent years trying to avoid war. This was someone different. President Dawson, one of the leaders, finally spoke, his voice trembling. "Are you suggesting?" "I'm not suggesting anything," the president interrupted. "I'm telling you, the human race will not be pushed around any longer. We will defend ourselves. And if that means war, so be it." Her words were met with stunned silence. For years, humanity had relied on diplomacy, on finding peaceful solutions to conflicts. But the president had reached her breaking point. It was clear to her that the aliens had no intention of negotiating in good faith. Every time humanity took a step toward peace, the aliens took 2 steps toward domination. Enough was enough. The world watched in disbelief as President Dawson's decision was broadcast across every screen, from bustling city streets to quiet rural towns. People were confused, afraid, but also strangely relieved. They had always feared the day war might come, but now that it was here, there was a sense of resolve. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a fight for human dignity, a fight to show the galaxy that humans were not weak. Across the world, military leaders began to mobilize. The human forces, though outnumbered and outgunned, began to prepare. They had one advantage: the ability to think creatively, to adapt, to surprise. The alien alliance may have had advanced weaponry, but humanity's resourcefulness would prove to be a powerful weapon. As the sun set on Earth, humanity's future seemed uncertain. But one thing was clear: President Dawson had made a choice, and she would lead her people into the storm. There was no turning back now. The war had begun. In the days that followed President Dawson's shocking declaration, the world remained in a state of uneasy anticipation. People watched their screens, waiting for updates as military forces across the globe prepared for an uncertain future. The president had made her decision clear, but no one truly understood the weight of it until they heard from her again. It was an early morning when President Dawson stood before the world once more. The speech she gave was broadcast live, and every nation, every corner of the earth, tuned in. The president stood tall at the podium, her face calm, yet there was a fire in her eyes that burned brighter than before. Her hands were steady as she spoke, but her words held a power that no one could ignore. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice cutting through the silence of the room. "I know the decision I made was sudden. I know it may have seemed extreme. But I want you to understand something. We cannot wait any longer. For too long, we have given the aliens the benefit of the doubt. We have tried to be reasonable, to find common ground, but they have only shown us their true face. They do not want peace. They want to dominate. They want to enslave us." There was a pause as she let her words sink in. On the other side of the world, people sat in their living rooms, eyes glued to the screen, some with fear, others with newfound hope. President Dawson had been known for her calm, peaceful leadership, but now she was a warrior. "We have no choice but to fight," she continued, her voice unwavering. "Our ancestors fought for this land, for the freedom we enjoy today. Now, it is our turn to protect it. This war will not be easy. It will cost us, but we will not back down. We will stand tall. We will fight for our homes, for our families, for our future." The speech was a turning point. People who had once feared the idea of war now felt a sense of unity. The president had given them something they hadn't realized they were missing: purpose. She made them believe that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity could prevail. Her words weren't just a rallying cry, they were a promise that she would lead them through this storm, a promise that humanity would fight, not just for survival, but for victory. The president had transformed before their eyes. She was no longer the peacekeeper who sought compromise. She had become the leader who would do whatever it took to protect her people. As the speech ended, President Dawson looked out over the world, knowing that the hard part was just beginning. The decision had been made. There was no turning back. The human race would now face the greatest challenge in its history, but President Dawson was ready. And she would lead her people with everything she had. Around the world, soldiers began to prepare. Governments began to mobilize. And in every heart, there was one unifying thought: it was time to fight back. The news of President Dawson's declaration reached the Alien Alliance hours after it was broadcast across Earth. The galactic leaders, sitting in their Grand Council chambers aboard their colossal space station, reacted with a mix of surprise and disbelief. The humans had finally shown their true colors, and the aliens were not prepared for it. For years, they had seen humans as weak, divided, emotional, and unwilling to fight. The Alien Alliance had expected diplomacy to continue, perhaps with a few more concessions, before they could secure complete control of Earth's resources. But now things had changed. In the heart of the council chamber, a tall, imposing figure stood. The alien commander, Caesar, was a fierce leader of the Zorcan species, one of the most powerful races in the galaxy. His piercing blue eyes burned with anger as he watched the human president speak. He had heard rumors of humanity's growing strength, but he had never believed it. Now, the humans were daring to challenge them. "We were right to consider them inferior," Caesar growled, his deep voice echoing through the chamber. "But they've surprised us. They are not as weak as we thought." Another alien, Ritha, a strategist from the Andromeda sector, nodded slowly. She was more cautious than Caesar, often thinking 2 steps ahead. The president's speech wasn't just an announcement. It was a challenge. She has united her people under one banner. She has made it clear that she is ready to fight. "We should crush them now," Caesar snapped. "Their military is inferior. Their technology is primitive compared to ours." Ritha held up a hand, signaling for calm. "It is not their technology we should fear. It is their unpredictability. The humans are unlike any species we've encountered. They do not follow the same rules as others." Caesar gritted his teeth. The Alien Alliance had crushed countless civilizations without much effort, but the humans were proving to be different. Their ability to adapt, to surprise, had never been something the aliens had prepared for. Every time they thought they had humanity cornered, the humans found a way out. A third alien, a member of the Axti race, spoke next. "We underestimated them. We thought they would buckle under pressure. But instead, they are fighting back. We cannot ignore the fact that they are capable of more than we gave them credit for." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. For the first time in centuries, they were unsure of their victory. The Alien Alliance had dominated the galaxy for eons, but now they were facing an opponent who was not afraid to fight. Caesar slammed his fist onto the table. "What do you suggest, then? Do we cower from these humans, Let them think they can stand up to us. No, Rytha said firmly. We must prepare. We underestimated them once. We will not make the same mistake again. But we will need to be more careful than before. We cannot allow them to gain the upper hand. The council fell silent as the weight of the situation settled in. They had always seen themselves as the rulers of the galaxy, and now, for the first time, they were facing a species that refused to bow to their will. The humans were ready for war. And the alien alliance was not as sure of victory as they once had been. The first moments of the war were chaotic. Humanity had been preparing for this day, but no one truly understood what it would feel like until it arrived. The moment President Dawson's orders had been given, Earth's military forces sprang into action. Ships were launched from every continent, and soldiers began their movements across the globe, ready to face the alien threat. But what they didn't expect was how quickly the alien alliance would retaliate. It started with a sudden strike. Massive alien warships appeared in Earth's atmosphere, dwarfing anything humanity had ever seen. Their ships were sleek, powerful, and brimming with advanced technology. They targeted key military installations on Earth, delivering devastating blows in an instant. Whole cities were hit by energy blasts, reducing entire structures to rubble. The aliens were fast and overwhelming, and it felt like humanity was being swept off its feet. But President Dawson had prepared for this. Her leadership wasn't just about being brave. It was about thinking ahead. Even though human technology was far less advanced, she had been secretly working on ways to counter the alien weapons. Humanity's strength was not in their technology alone, but in their ability to think on their feet, to adapt, and to be unpredictable. The first real test came when a squadron of alien ships approached one of Earth's major space stations. The humans were ready. It was a trap. Human ships, disguised under the cover of asteroid fields, launched a surprise counterattack. Alien ships were caught off guard by the speed and accuracy of the human strike. Human pilots, though fewer in number, were fearless and relentless. They used the environment to their advantage, flying in ways the aliens weren't prepared for. The human fleet managed to take down several alien ships, and the first real victory was celebrated. The people of Earth, watching the news from their homes, saw the triumph of their soldiers and felt a surge of hope. But President Dawson knew this was only the beginning. They had fought back, but the alien alliance wasn't going to stop. In fact, the aliens were likely preparing for something far worse. Meanwhile, on the alien command ship, Caesar paced back and forth, furious. He had underestimated humanity, and now they had made a fool of him. He was used to dominance, to crushing enemies without resistance. But the humans had shown they were not like the other civilizations the alien alliance had conquered. Rytha, ever the strategist, studied the data carefully. We cannot allow them to continue this, she said. Their unpredictability and determination are a problem. We must strike harder, faster. We cannot give them room to think. Caesar nodded. Prepare the next phase of the attack. No more mistakes. We'll show them the full force of our power. Back on Earth, the mood was a mixture of excitement and dread. The battle had just begun, and while humanity had proven they could hold their own, they were still up against an alien force with technology beyond anything they could imagine. As the world braced for the next wave of conflict, one thing was clear. Humanity had entered the fight with everything they had, and they weren't backing down. President Dawson stood in her command center, watching the chaos unfold. The weight of leadership was heavy, but her resolve was unwavering. She knew the road ahead would be filled with hardship, but she also knew that humanity had something the alien alliance didn't: heart, and that heart would be the key to their victory. The war was no longer a distant possibility. It was now a brutal daily reality. Humanity's forces, though outnumbered and outgunned, had shown an unexpected strength. It wasn't just their weapons or technology that set them apart. It was their spirit. They fought with everything they had, their hearts and minds focused on one goal: survival. On the front lines, human soldiers faced constant pressure. The alien alliance, with its overwhelming firepower and superior technology, seemed unstoppable. Alien warships hovered over cities, their energy beams disintegrating anything in their path. Ground forces moved swiftly, crushing any resistance with ease. Yet for every alien victory, there was a human who refused to give in. Private James Carter, a young soldier from Kansas, found himself on the front lines of one of the fiercest battles. His unit had been stationed in a destroyed city, one that had been devastated by the alien bombardments. With no backup in sight and the enemy closing in, Carter didn't hesitate. His team, though smaller and less equipped, used their knowledge of the terrain to launch guerrilla-style attacks, hitting the aliens when they least expected it. Carter's squad hid among the ruins, using their small, fast vehicles to ambush the larger alien forces. At one point, they managed to take down an alien walker, one of the terrifying, towering machines that had been wreaking havoc. The soldiers knew they couldn't outgun the alien forces, but they had something the aliens didn't: determination. They didn't need to win every battle. They just needed to show the aliens they couldn't be crushed. Back in space, the human fleet had begun to adapt as well. Commander Ava Reed, a seasoned pilot who had risen through the ranks, was leading one of the human fleets. Their ships were nothing compared to the alien vessels in terms of size and firepower, but the humans used their speed and agility to their advantage. They didn't try to match the aliens head-on. Instead, they outmaneuvered them, luring the alien ships into traps and striking when they were most vulnerable. Ava had been part of the initial wave of human forces, and while many had doubted the success of their strategy, she had never wavered. "We may not have their firepower, but we have the one thing they'll never understand," she often told her crew. "We fight for our homes, for our families. They fight for control. That makes all the difference." On the ground, human engineers and scientists were working tirelessly, creating weapons and technologies designed to level the playing field. The aliens had superior weapons, but humans were resourceful. The machines that had once been used to rebuild cities were now repurposed to create makeshift weapons, modified energy rifles, explosive traps, and specialized drones. Every corner of Earth was rallying to the cause, with humans using every tool available to them. In the midst of all this, President Dawson remained a symbol of unity and strength. She wasn't just sitting behind a desk, issuing orders. She was on the front lines with her people, speaking to soldiers and civilians alike. She visited military bases, talked to engineers, and even spoke to families who had lost loved ones. Her presence gave people hope, a reminder that they weren't alone in this fight. Humanity's resilience was becoming its greatest weapon. The alien forces had expected a swift victory, but what they hadn't counted on was that humans, when backed into a corner, could fight harder than anyone. They had fought for their freedom before, and they would do it again. And as the war raged on, one thing was clear: the human spirit was far stronger than the alien alliance had ever anticipated. The aliens had been watching the humans' unexpected resistance with growing anger and frustration. The initial shock of the president's decision had worn off, and now the alien alliance was preparing for a counterattack that would send a clear message. Humanity's brief moment of hope was over. The alien leaders were determined to crush the human forces once and for all. They had underestimated the human spirit, and now they would ensure it was destroyed. Cesar, the Zorkan commander, stood on the bridge of the alien flagship, his fists clenched. He was furious, not just with the humans' unexpected victories, but with his own underestimation of their potential. "No more mistakes," he growled, his voice cold and commanding. "We will wipe them out in one blow. Prepare the fleet." The alien fleet, now assembled and ready for action, was the largest humanity had ever seen. Hundreds of massive warships, each one more advanced than anything humans had ever imagined, were gathered in orbit above Earth. The aliens planned to launch an all-out assault, using their superior numbers and overwhelming firepower to crush the human resistance. Ritha, The Andromeda strategist had been quiet throughout the planning, carefully studying the human tactics. She had come to a conclusion that Caesar was too emotional to see. "We can destroy them," she said, "but we must not underestimate their unpredictability. They fight in ways we do not understand. We need to plan our attack carefully." Caesar, though angry, listened. Ritha's sharp mind had been one of the reasons the alien alliance had remained so powerful. He knew better than to ignore her advice, even in his rage. "Fine," he spat. "But no more delays. We strike now." The aliens launched their assault with terrifying speed. They fired massive energy beams at key human strongholds, destroying entire cities in seconds. They sent fleets to intercept the human military, overwhelming them with superior numbers. The alien ships seemed invincible, their weapons cutting through human defenses like a knife through butter. The alien forces advanced quickly, pushing humanity's remaining defenses to the brink. On the ground, human soldiers were outnumbered and outgunned. Private Carter, who had fought in the earlier battles, found himself in the middle of the chaos once again. The alien forces were everywhere, and there seemed to be no way to stop them. Cities were falling, and the human forces were being pushed back at every turn. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, the human spirit didn't break. Carter's squad had been sent to defend a key military base, and despite the odds, they fought with everything they had. They used the environment to their advantage, setting up traps and ambushes, knowing they couldn't win by force alone. They relied on their ingenuity, finding small victories even in the face of disaster. Commander Ava Reed, leading her fleet in space, was facing a similar challenge. The alien ships were massive, their firepower devastating. But Ava and her crew had a secret weapon. They didn't fight the way the aliens expected. Instead of engaging directly, they used hit-and-run tactics, striking fast and then retreating before the aliens could respond. It wasn't enough to defeat the aliens, but it was enough to slow them down. As the human forces scrambled to adapt to the new onslaught, one thing was clear. Humanity had entered a war they could not win through strength alone. They had to outthink their enemies, outblast them, and find a way to turn the tide. But with every battle, humanity proved that even when they were knocked down, they could rise again. And the alien alliance, now realizing that this fight would not be as easy as they had expected, began to feel the weight of their mistake. The war was far from over. The war had dragged on longer than anyone had expected. Humanity's resilience, though admirable, was beginning to wear thin. Cities had been destroyed, millions had lost their lives, and the human forces were struggling to hold back the relentless alien advance. For the first time since the war began, doubt began to creep into President Dawson's mind. Was victory even possible, or was humanity simply fighting a losing battle? In the heart of the battle, Private James Carter felt the weight of those doubts. His squad had been fighting for days with no rest. Alien forces had pushed them from one position to the next, and they had been forced into defensive retreats, always a step behind the enemy. It seemed like the aliens' firepower and numbers would overwhelm them in the end. Yet despite everything, Carter refused to give up. Late one night, while strategizing with his squad, Carter noticed something unusual. The alien forces, while powerful, seemed to follow a predictable pattern. They attacked in waves, using their superior technology to break through defenses. But in between these waves, they were vulnerable. There was a brief window of time when they relaxed, expecting no resistance. Carter realized that this might be their chance to strike back, not through brute force, but by exploiting their enemy's routine. He quickly passed this information up the chain of command, and soon a new plan began to take shape. This wasn't a plan to outfight the aliens. It was a plan to outthink them. The human forces began to adjust their tactics, using the aliens' own strategy against them. They didn't try to hold every position. Instead, they lured the aliens into traps, striking quickly before retreating. The human forces learned to fight smarter, not harder. Meanwhile, in space, Commander Ava Reed had been observing the same pattern in the alien fleet. The alien ships, while incredibly powerful, were not as flexible as the human ones. They relied heavily on their size and strength, leaving them vulnerable in close-quarters combat. Reed devised a bold new plan, one that would take advantage of their maneuverability. She gathered a small group of ships for a dangerous assault, a direct attack on the alien flagship. It was a risky move. The alien flagship was the heart of their operation, and if it fell, the alien forces would lose their cohesion. Ava knew this would be their best chance to turn the tide. She briefed her crew, emphasizing the importance of the mission. "We have to strike now, or we may never get another chance," she said. "We're not just attacking their ship, we're attacking their morale. If we take them by surprise, we may force them to retreat." With a small fleet of human ships, Reed led the charge. They moved swiftly, using their superior agility to dodge the aliens' heavy fire. The alien fleet was caught off guard, and for the first time in the war, the humans managed to breach the defenses of the alien flagship. Inside the flagship, Cesar, the alien commander, could feel the tide shifting. The human assault had shaken the alien fleet. His ships were falling, and their once pristine formations were now in chaos. Ritha, the Andromeda strategist, stood beside him, her face grim. "The humans have found their rhythm," she said quietly. "They're more dangerous than we thought." For the first time in this war, the human forces had gained the upper hand. The alien alliance had been thrown into disarray. Cesar, though still powerful, was beginning to realize that this war would not end with a quick victory. The humans had proven that they could fight back, and now they were ready to turn the tables. In that moment, humanity found its hope. The turning point had arrived. The war was far from over, but for the first time, the human forces believed they could win. And as President Dawson watched the news of Reed's success, she knew that the battle had shifted in their favor. This was just the beginning. The alien forces had underestimated humanity's resolve, but now they were starting to feel the full force of that mistake. After the unexpected victory at the heart of the alien fleet, the momentum had shifted. Commander Ava Reed's bold attack on the flagship had shaken the aliens, and for the first time since the war began, humanity had a real chance to win. But the final push would not be easy. President Dawson knew the next few days would decide the future of the war. She had seen the incredible courage of her people, their ability to adapt and fight against the odds. But the alien forces were still strong, and they wouldn't give up without a fight. She knew it was time to rally every human, every soldier, and every resource they had left. In the war room, Dawson looked over the maps and data provided by her commanders. The alien fleet was regrouping, but their forces had been weakened, scattered across various sectors. This was humanity's moment. She made the decision to focus on one final decisive battle, a battle that would cripple the alien alliance once and for all. "Now's our chance," she said, her voice steady but full of determination. "We hit them hard and fast, right at their core. We finish this now." The plan was set. Ava Reed's fleet would lead the charge, attacking the alien ships from multiple directions, using hit-and-run tactics to confuse the enemy. At the same time, human ground forces would strike at the aliens' key supply lines, cutting off their resources and isolating them. The idea was simple but effective. Divide and conquer. The alien forces relied on their size and strength, but without coordination, they were vulnerable. The battle began with an overwhelming force of human ships charging toward the alien fleet. Reed and her crew led the way, moving with precision, dodging the alien fire and attacking from unexpected angles. The alien ships, caught off guard by the humans' sudden assault, began to fall one by one. It was the first time they had been forced into retreat, and the sense of victory fueled the human forces. On the ground, soldiers like Private James Carter were making their final stand. They had fought through countless battles, and now they were about to finish what they had started. Carter's squad was tasked with taking down a key alien communication hub deep in enemy territory. It was a dangerous mission, but the soldiers were prepared. They knew that every step forward meant the weakening of the alien alliance. The fighting was brutal. The alien forces, though struggling, still fought with incredible strength. But humanity had something the aliens couldn't understand: a fierce will to protect their homes and families. Carter's squad pushed forward, using their knowledge of the terrain to stay one step ahead of the alien forces. Every move was calculated, every decision vital to the mission. As the hours passed, the alien forces began to crumble. Their once coordinated attacks turned into chaotic, disjointed efforts. The human forces were everywhere, attacking, retreating, and striking again. The aliens couldn't keep up. Their superiority in numbers and technology no longer mattered. Humanity had shown them the power of ingenuity, determination, and unity. Back in the war room, Dawson watched the battle unfold with a mixture of relief and tension. She knew the final blow was coming. The aliens were nearly defeated, and soon the war would be over. But she also knew that many lives had been lost, and the cost of this victory would weigh heavily on everyone. In the end, it was the alien flagship that fell. The symbol of their dominance, their heart, was shattered. With it, the remaining alien forces surrendered. The war was over. Humanity had won. As President Dawson addressed her people, the world cheered. The human race had not only survived, they had triumphed. The alien alliance, once seen as unstoppable, was now in retreat. Humanity had proven that no matter the odds, they would never back down. The war had ended, but the journey for humanity was just beginning. The president, standing tall before her people, knew that this victory would be remembered for generations. The galaxy would never forget the day when humans decided to fight back. The dust of war had barely settled when the leaders of the alien alliance realized something they hadn't expected. Humanity wasn't going to fold. Despite all their power, their advanced technology, and their overwhelming numbers, they were now on the verge of defeat. The alien forces had been pushed back, and their once glorious fleet lay in ruins. The humans, though outmatched in firepower, had used their creativity, their adaptability, and above all, their unbreakable spirit to turn the tide of the war. In the alien command center, Cesar, the Zorkan commander, paced nervously. He had fought countless battles, crushed countless civilizations, but the humans had been different. They fought not just for survival, but for their homes, their families, and their future. That kind of passion was something Cesar had never encountered before. The humans are relentless, Cesar muttered under his breath. We have never faced an enemy like them. Retha, his chief strategist, stood beside him, her expression serious. They are more than we thought. They adapt quickly, strike unpredictably, and never surrender. Our forces are scattered and weak. If we continue this fight, we risk total annihilation. Cesar growled, slamming his fist into the console. We cannot allow them to win. We cannot show weakness. But Rytha's voice remained calm. We are already weak, and their victory is inevitable if we continue to resist. We must face the truth. The war is lost. It was then that the alien leaders, one by one, began to realize the truth. Their dominance over the galaxy, once unquestioned, was slipping away. They had misjudged humanity, thinking they could easily break them, force them into submission. Instead, the humans had fought with a ferocity and unity that the aliens couldn't have imagined. And so, the Alien Council made an unprecedented decision. They would offer a surrender. On Earth, President Dawson had been waiting for this moment. She had led her people through impossible odds, and now she had to decide how to handle the aliens' request for peace. She had seen what they were capable of, how quickly they had destroyed cities, how easily they could wipe out entire populations. But she also knew that the human spirit was stronger than any weapon. I will not negotiate for the sake of peace alone, President Dawson said firmly when the alien envoy contacted her. This war has cost us too much. If you want to end it, you must give us more than just a ceasefire. You must acknowledge humanity's strength and our right to survive as an equal in the galaxy. The alien representatives, once proud and confident, now seemed hesitant. They had expected the humans to demand their complete submission, but President Dawson's words caught them off guard. She wasn't interested in domination. She wanted respect. She wanted humanity to stand tall alongside the alien races, not be crushed beneath their heel. The terms of the surrender were clear. The alien alliance would retreat from Earth, and humanity would be allowed to continue to grow, prosper, and expand in the galaxy. The aliens would no longer treat humanity as a lesser species. Earth would be free to establish its place in the cosmos, its voice heard alongside the others. As the alien forces pulled back, their ships retreating from Earth's atmosphere, the human population erupted in celebration. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had emerged victorious. President Dawson stood before the world, her expression calm but filled with pride. "This victory is not just ours," she said in her address. "It is a victory for every person who fought, for every life lost, and for every future that will now be lived in peace. We have shown that humanity will never bow to anyone." The war was over. The galaxy had been forever changed, and humanity, once seen as weak and insignificant, had earned its place among the stars. The war was over, but its impact would be felt for generations. Humanity had proven its strength, its resilience, and its capacity for unity in the face of overwhelming odds. As the alien ships disappeared into the distant reaches of space, the people of Earth gathered in celebration. The victory was theirs, but the cost had been high. Many lives had been lost, entire cities had been destroyed, and the scars of battle would take years to heal. In the days that followed, President Dawson addressed her people, standing on a platform surrounded by soldiers and civilians alike. The pride in her eyes was undeniable, but there was a solemnity to her words. "We have won, but we cannot forget the price of victory," she said, her voice steady. "Our world will rebuild, but we must remember those who fought, those who sacrificed everything for our future. This war has changed us, but it has also united us." The world listened, knowing that the peace they now enjoyed had come at great cost. President Dawson was no longer just a leader. She was a symbol of hope, strength, and determination. She had guided humanity through its darkest hours and emerged victorious. But now her focus shifted to the future. As Earth began to rebuild, President Dawson worked tirelessly to create a new path for humanity. The war had exposed weaknesses, yes, but it had also highlighted humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt, to learn, and to grow. The president made it clear that now was the time for humanity to move forward, to explore the stars and make a place for themselves in the larger galaxy. The once distant stars that had watched over Earth for so long now seemed much closer. Human exploration, once limited to their own world, began to take shape. Earth's space program expanded rapidly, fueled by the lessons learned during the war. Humanity was no longer just a species fighting for survival. They were a species with the power and determination to explore, to build, and to thrive. Private James Carter, now a decorated hero, returned to his home in Kansas. His life had been forever changed by the war, and though the battles were over, the memories would stay with him forever. He had fought for his country, for his people, and for the future of the human race. But now he looked to the future, where humanity would begin to take its first steps into the unknown. He knew there was more to discover, more to learn, and more to fight for. He wasn't done yet. Ava Reed, now hailed as a hero of the skies, continued her work as a leader in the military. But her focus had shifted. The victory wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. She worked alongside scientists, engineers, and leaders from around the world to build a future where humanity could live in peace, explore the universe, and defend itself from any threat. Humanity, once on the brink of destruction, now stood united, stronger than ever before. The alien forces that had come to conquer Earth were now gone, and in their place, Humans had proven that they would never be dominated. They had fought for their freedom and their future, and they had won. President Dawson stood before the world once more, her face calm and proud. "We are not just survivors," she said. "We are conquerors of our destiny. Together, we will build a future that is not only bright but limitless." As the sun set on Earth, the stars that had watched over humanity for so long now seemed within reach, and humanity, with all its flaws and strengths, stood ready to take its place among them. The future was theirs to shape. The galaxy would now know that humanity was a force to be reckoned with.